Introvert Room is Tony. So this is gonna be a video about transitioning into like a 9 to 5, more 9 to 5 is more of an office job, and what that means and how I feel about that. So yeah, I transitioned away from my massage for a while. I'm going to pursue like office work, whatever. It's actually kind of putting me in line with what I want to do post graduation. I'm in an MFA program, a creative writing program. And so post MFA, like I'll likely be working in the publishing field, which is more like a desk office kind of setting. So it just makes more sense to kind of like transition into that. And then right now I'm just building up opportunities that allow me to get publishing like credit or publishing credit, publishing experience, stuff like that. And so with that comes like the idea of just having to transition back into like a way of being that I didn't think I was gonna transition back to, like, because I kind of felt like in my 20s that was the last thing I wanted to do. I did not want to do any sort of like office job, any sort of like yeah, like any sort of office job. I really felt restricted. I felt like a 9 to 5 was boring, and more importantly to me, it felt like giving up of one's freedom. Like, and like the time that you spent looking at my skin, the time you spent on a 9 to 5, you couldn't get it back. I particularly didn't like when it transitioned to fall winter, because like it gets dark so early that you kind of feel like, especially if you get out at 5 or 5:30 or even 6, by the time you get out of work in the northern hemisphere I'm talking about, it's like so dark already that you kind of lose the will and the motivation to do anything, and then you kind of really do wait till the weekends to live. And I kind of felt like, especially in my 20s, that just wasn't what I was interested in. I didn't want to give up all of my time. Like, I was in the office job, I was kind of like depressed and stuff like that, and then I just felt like also 9 to 5s have this sense of stuckness to them that it makes it hard, I feel like, to transition in and out of. You kind of get into like, this job has like the money and the security, and then you kind of you lose a little bit of your bravery. I kind of feel like you kind of start thinking of like, but if I leave this, then what else? And you start to like kind of have those like thoughts usually. And then, if you don't have any ideas either, then being in a 9 to 5 but not liking it kind of feels like a prison also, because it's just like, you want to do something else, but you have no idea what it is. And so that just general feeling of stuckness in a 9 to 5 is something that I've really struggled with in my 20s. I also struggled with the idea of like having gone to college, getting an education, and being underemployed, because doing administrative work generally wasn't yielding like the salary of my peers when I graduated. And that is something I've had to like overcome in terms of like psychologically like feeling like ashamed of where I've ended up taking my life, because it was a choice after a while of not pursuing opportunities for advancement and stuff like that, and like bettering oneself, and feeling just kind of complacent and stuck in like, well, this is like the average life of people. And so leaving that in my like mid-late 20s by pursuing pharmacy technician work, which was still a 9 to 5, but it wasn't like the office 9 to 5, and then becoming a massage therapist where I had like a bunch of freedom, right? But to the point where like it was quite unstable financially because it wasn't consistent to the level that I needed it at. and then transitioning back to like more office setting type things and pursuing more office setting things, I'm like, you know, like, am I repeating the same like lessons? Am I repeating the same issues? Yeah, so definitely I'm kind of like thinking about that. I have like started buying, because I like really was like, I'm not gonna have any like, I'm not gonna have any like dress clothes. I'm not gonna have any outfits. Like, F that, because like I don't need them, right? Like, I'm being a massage therapist. I don't need them. I'm not going out. I'm not dressing up. I'm not doing anything. I'm not, you know, I don't need to like interview in like a suit to be a massage therapist. Usually you can interview like in scrubs and stuff like that, like to do the demonstrate, right? You're doing a demonstration, you're getting oil in your hands, you're working on someone's body or whatever. Like, that's not an environment where you know what I'm saying? You don't need to all your dress up at all, right? You can't really have nails. You don't really wear jewelry. You have like, you have to have your hair out of your face, off your shoulders, or like not necessarily hanging so that it won't touch clients and stuff like that. Like, you really just get to be like the most laid back version of yourself. And then like having to go from that to like this, where like you have to put in a little bit of effort. Like, I don't put any effort in for real, but like a nice shirt and pants to where you're like, you're not gonna get written up because it's jeans. Even though technically I can wear jeans at my job, but like I want to opt for black jeans, and it just looks better to wear just like dress pants and a like nice top. So I'm just like, so I'm like going into that field, into that world of like getting dressed up and having to fill my closet up with like dress stuff. I'm like, or you mean like more office-y type things, like more office casual type things, but like still. So I'm just like, I ultimately feel like, I feel free, but I feel bound a little bit as well. I feel free in that like the extraneous stuff that you have to do or think about when you're like, when you're very free as a massage therapist, like, oh, I didn't make my quota today, or I didn't get enough tips today, so like you can just shut stuff like that off. And I know a lot of people like, they like 9 to 5s because it's like, when you clock out, you clock out, that's it. And I have gotten that feeling like, when I clock out, I just clock out and I go and live my day. And so it's liberating in that sense. It just feels like, it feels tedious, right? It just feels like, you also feel like when you can go in autopilot so much for tasks, that it's like, okay, it's not as much of a challenge. And so you kind of feel like, am I going to fall into complacency patterns? And this is where like, okay, I used to work at a pharmacy, and like the pharmacist was like really good advice that I would like, was like trashing on my way out when I like start to pursue like my massage thing. But I understand it now that like, whatever job you have, like, you have to just live your life outside of that. Like, if you choose to do a 9 to 5, or you choose to do like entrepreneurship or whatever, whatever you do outside of that, like, you have to like, you have to make time for it, one, but then two, like, do your job, but like for your own fulfillment's sake, put your energy into things that you want to do outside of that. And so for me, I have to like do that. And as it gets colder and darker for longer periods of time, and you want to be inside, and you feel like it's dreary and stuff like that, like, my mental health is kind of like tanking a little bit. Having things to do, things to pursue, things to keep me occupied so I'm not just scrolling, are just, yeah, like, they're godsend, because I don't want to be in the house just feeling isolated, right? Because this is a time of year where you can feel really isolated. So I'm like, I have to like be active. I'm personally right now menstruating, so I kind of don't feel as far as energy, I don't feel like woo, like up there with energy. I kind of feel like I don't want to be bothered. I feel like after this passes, I'll be okay, like a little bit more okay. But I like don't want to be bothered right now. So yeah, like transitioning back into like this office type work and like actively pursuing office type opportunities, like a few opportunities outside of like that, but pursuing mostly opportunities to do like in person 9 to 5 ish type, between 9 to 5 hour type work is office work is kind of like just interesting, and that I just feel like it's a regression, but then like also it is freeing because like I don't have to like it's just freeing also. So I'm like thinking, I'm like, oh. But that's where I am right now. And so I didn't think I would be in this part of my life doing this office shit again. But yeah, I am pursuing like entrepreneurship a little bit, but it's, you know, it's not going to be up to the same level that like a job it at some point could surpass what I'm doing. But like, yeah. And then there's just other things that I'm trying to get in place. Then having to do my finances and making sure like that's on track, making sure that I like can pay bills and I'm not gonna like fall behind, and it, you know, stuff like that. Like it's a very like serious adult time for me, and I'm just like, do I want to do this? Do I want to be an adult right now? No, but I have to be because there's no reverting back to childhood. And also, you know, as bad as adulthood gets, being a child is not worse, but it's just like I have significantly more freedom, right, in what I can do with my life as an adult. So I can't like complain too much about that. It's just like always a lot to do, and I'm just like, okay. Anyway, so that's it. I'm gonna do another video and that'll wrap this up. All right, thanks for watching. I'll talk to you guys later. Bye.